Nicaraguan, Haitian, Cuban, and Venezuelan exile communities. And those are precisely the communities that have been the most targeted by these Trump policy changes and deportations. And
you realize that what he is doing is not just acting for Donald Trump. He's acting for all of us. He's acting for our president. And he is embarrassing. He is shameful. He is disgusting.
Have you noticed that with everything going on with deportations, with everything going on in the Trump administration, have there been signs from this group of remorse?
Yes.
And anybody around him, whether it's his daughter, his chief of staff, his wife, who I remind you had said her signature issue was going to be fighting against online bullying.
Ana Navarro just called Donald Trump a crazy lunatic 70-year-old man baby live on air, but what she said next had everyone gasping. Find out how her fiery statements uncovered a truth Trump might be desperate to hide. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Ana Navarro didn't hold back on live TV, and honestly, why should she? Looking straight into the camera, she called Trump a crazy lunatic 70-year-old man baby, which, let's face it, already had her co-hosts wide-eyed. But what really left people choking on their coffee was her follow-up. She accused Trump of intentionally using chaos as a tool, not just chaos in his policies, but chaos as a way to dominate the media. Navarro argued that this tactic wasn't just reckless, it was calculated. And honestly, doesn't that just sound like classic Trump? Trump's reactions to criticism are nothing new. The man has a thicker spray tan than he does skin.
Pisses me off so much because, you are supposed to care about other human beings, even if they're not your friend or your colleague or your neighbor. You are supposed to care just because you're supposed to care out of humanity.
We have a president who is nasty. We have a president who is immature, unstable, and just acts like a crazy person with anybody who attacks him because he's got thin skin and he is never going to pivot.
I suspect the president is not going to accept your advice, but what do you believe he needs to do to fix this?
Stop. Look, if you can't control your tweeting habits, then stop tweeting.
And the cruelty that is being exerted on the Latino and immigrant community is boundless. And I think it's gotten to a point where you just can't avoid it. You really have to try hard.
Navarro's comments seem to hit all his weakest spots, though, because she pointed out something just about everyone knows but few are brave enough to say out loud: his inability to take even the mildest critique without spiraling. Just look at the history. Remember when he called reporter Megyn Kelly crazy simply for asking him a tough debate question? Or the time he walked out of an interview because someone dared mention his business failures? It's like clockwork: criticize Trump, and you're guaranteed a Twitter meltdown, assuming, of course, that he hadn't already been banned. And let's talk about Navarro's bigger point here: chaos. She connected it to Trump's pattern of stirring outrage, especially when the heat's on him. When the Epstein headlines were breaking, suddenly Trump's making comments about injecting disinfectant or attacking the press.
I can't start talking about tax reform. I can't start talking about healthcare reform because I can't get past the fact that we have a president who lacks the sufficient character. Stop enabling him. Confront this and confront this hard, or it will never stop and it will embarrass all of us. It will take the presidency low, low, low. You've got to realize once and for all, you are no longer just Donald Trump. You're no longer just speaking for Trump Tower and Trump brand and Trump hotels and Trump steaks. You are speaking for an entire country. And our people do not deserve to be embarrassed and be represented by somebody who is so unfit for the job.
Coincidence? Hardly. Navarro referenced this explicitly, saying Trump lives for the distractions because they're his lifeline. Instead of real leadership, it's drama after drama to keep the scandals buried under his outrageous antics. She also made it personal, opening up about her own feelings of guilt over his immigration policies. As a Latina, watching a man she's repeatedly criticized target her community hit her hard, but, as she put it, it's less about being offended and more about being appalled. She spun that into a broader critique of Trump's leadership, if you can even call it that, calling him a distraction machine, whose childish behavior is designed not to entertain but to manipulate. Navarro ended with a bang too, taking a jab at how Trump's attempts to silence his critics always seem to backfire. Instead of shutting them up, they grow louder, bolder, and more determined to call him out. What's next? Well, it turns out she isn't the only one he's apparently tried to silence. Remember Stephen Colbert? Let's just say Trump's tactics didn't exactly go as planned there either. When CBS canceled Stephen Colbert's show, it didn't just pull the plug on one of late-night TV's biggest critics of Trump, it set off a wave of controversy and speculation. A lot of people connected the timing to politics. Colbert gets canceled, and in the same week, a Trump ally with ties to CBS pushes to kill off diversity programs at the network. Coincidence? Unlikely. As one observer put it, if you don't think politics and kowtowing to Trump had something to do with it, I'd like to smoke what you're smoking. The cancellation sent a clear message, or at least it tried to. But let's be real, silencing someone like Colbert was bound to blow up in Trump's face. Colbert, a master of sharp monologues and biting humor, had spent years turning his brand of comedy into a near-weekly roast of Trump. He painted Trump as thin-skinned, unable to handle even the lightest jabs without losing his cool. And he wasn't wrong. Remember Trump's meltdowns on Twitter, when he still had one, every time a comedian made him the butt of a joke.
I'm really tired of hearing words like disappointed, like disturbed, like I'm bothered, like I wish he wouldn't do it. It's time that somebody looks at the camera and looks at him and calls him up and says, listen, you crazy lunatic 70-year-old man baby, stop it.
To be a Latino in this country and live in a bubble where you are not seeing the racial profiling and the racism. And yes, there's people who are still delighted with everything that Trump is doing.
When I first saw the tweet this morning, I was frankly disgusted. I thought to myself, this dude has got such a fixation with women and blood. What is wrong with him?
But more and more people are realizing that when they thought they were voting for somebody who was going to deport criminals and rapists and bad guys and gang members, that's not the people getting deported.
What made Colbert's exit even spicier was the response from his fellow late-night hosts. John Oliver, Jimmy Fallon, and even Andy Cohen all rallied in support, calling out what they saw as a blatant attempt to muzzle one of the sharpest critical voices in media. It was like the late-night Avengers assembled, refusing to let this go quietly. The result? The exact opposite of what whoever canceled him was probably hoping for. Instead of silencing critics, Trump's moves fired them up, giving fuel to their jokes and making his own antics even harder to ignore.